Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's career chat. I'm Krista Harmon, a workforce development consultant with the Kent Intermediate School District, and I'm so delighted to have Amanda Wildman with us today. She is an electrician and a business owner and an integrator, so we get to learn more about that. Thank you for being here, Amanda. Welcome.
Thank you guys so very much for having me. I am super excited to talk to you guys about my career and hopefully inspire some new youth and some new people to consider this as a career option.
That's great. We also have some school counselors today with us, Amanda, which is great for them to learn too, so they can help educate young people. So let's take you back to when you were in high school, Amanda. When you were 16 or 17, did you think you'd grow up to be an electrician and a business owner? Was that what you were thinking when you were 16?
Never, ever, ever did I think that that was the case. And actually, I distinctly remember at 16, my very first job that I was super excited about was working at a jewelry store. And I actually spent probably 8 years in that career. I'm actually a certified diamondologist and gemologist. I was going to be a diamond buyer. So I thought that's the route, that's where I was going to go. And fate had a different decision for me. And I kind of stumbled into my career, but I absolutely love it. And I find it very, very rewarding.
I love it. So in high school, you were working at a jewelry store, and that was obviously, that's a career that some of us don't even think about, right? Being a gemologist and a diamond. Say that again. A
Diamondologist. Yes.
A diamondologist. I just learned something new. I love it. So what was that? Was it, were you good in math and science? Did you like your geology classes? Like, what were some of your natural interests when you were in high school?
Yeah, so natural interest in high school, thinking back now, like looking back over my life and maybe how I would have been, it may have been different, is I really actually used to like designing blueprints, which is crazy. So naturally, I honestly think in my day, because I'm probably old lady, I would have been steered more towards maybe being a builder or being an architect had I been a boy. And that wasn't necessarily a thing as a girl. That was, something for me. I didn't love math in the fact that to me, math, for example, if it was an abstract thing, it was very, very difficult for me. Like if I could say, like when you talked about angles and cuts on like a diamond or cuts on a stone, like I could relate that. So as soon as I could relate that, like angles and geometry and things like that became very, very easy to me. But if it was abstract of like, hey, we're just going to sit down and we're going to do these math facts, to me, that was like a crazy foreign language. And unless I could actually relate it to something, it was more difficult. But to go back to like my drawings and everything, like I did like art stuff. Anytime I did art, I was always very about shapes and overlapping shapes. And I liked that kind of thing. And like I said, when I was a kid, I used to take graph paper and I would like write blueprints or floor plans for like what my ideal house would be. Or like we were a family of campers. And so I would like draw out like campers, like what would mine look like? And that kind of a thing. So I think had someone maybe seen that more, or like I said, had I been a boy, it may have been more of an encouragement to do that. But I'm really lucky that I kind of stumbled into my career now. And maybe part of that is because like I paid attention to, hey, these are things that I really, really like. And hey, I'm really good at it. So I may have started it earlier into this industry had I had maybe more exposure to that. But I love what you guys are doing, like talking to kids, because we didn't ever have anybody come into the schools. Because maybe if someone too would have come into the school and like spurred that on and said, hey, you could be an architect, or hey, you could be a designer, or that kind of thing, maybe I would have thought about it more. So I think it's good to expose kids to all those different conversations.
Absolutely. And I want to encourage any young person watching this right now, or the school counselors, to really look at what do you enjoy doing as a high school student. Those are clues. And I love it, Amanda, you were drawing things like your future camper. And yes, those are the kind of questions that we can ask each other, right? So if you're a young person, talk to your parents, guardians, neighbors, who knows you. What do they see you that you like to do? Those are really important clues. I love that, Amanda. Thank you. So how did you stumble into it then? What was your path right after high school? You were obviously in the jewelry business, and then what was that kind of movement?
So again, I think I grew up in the generation where it was very traditional that, okay, I graduated from high school, you go to college and you get your 4-year degree. And I was really, really blessed. I went to Calvin College. I did end up getting my 4-year degree. I actually changed a little bit in there because I originally was going into kind of like some biology stuff. Maybe thought I'd do something in medical. I took organic chemistry and I was like, not for me. And so at Kelvin, they did an opportunity where they have this thing called Winterim, where you could travel and you could do different experiences. And I happened to go with the business and engineering department to Europe. And to be perfectly honest with you, I probably was less excited about the business and engineering part, but the Europe part of the sentence really got me. I love traveling. And so I thought, well, I don't know what this class is about, but I will figure out how to raise the money because I want to go to Europe. And when I went to Europe, we went to a whole bunch of different businesses and a whole bunch of different engineering places. Like I got to go to the Mercedes, plant where they were making Mercedes vehicles and stuff. And I got to see their assembly lines and, different things like that. And that's when it kind of started reawakening to me in college, like some of those things where I liked, like the drawing and the graphing and the things like that. So I switched my major to business and I genuinely thought, oh, maybe I'll go into hospital administration or something like that. I stayed working at the jewelry store for a little while after I graduated. And then I met my husband, and he, of all things, started in a career. He worked in a cell phone store way back in the day when cell phone companies were starting to go into small satellite dishes. He started building a business for his company. And I said, because of my business experience, I said, well, this is crazy. You're literally doing all the orders, all the selling, all the install. You're basically running a business and you're not getting paid to run a business. So why don't we try to live off of my salary? Because I was making good money out of college. I was managing my own jewelry store at the time and thought I'd be going down that path. And I said, why don't you try to start a business for us? And for a whole year, let's reinvest the money that you make. And at a year, like we gave ourselves a deadline. So we said, we're going to pursue this dream for a year. We'll reevaluate at a year. And we found that we're a little bit more than broke even. So we're like, okay, well, that's good. So, okay, let's try another year. And so I think that was the process. And so when you try new things, I think the moral of that entire story is try new things. If you get an opportunity to travel or be exposed to do new different things, try it, but give yourself a deadline. Say, you know what? I'm going to try this for a year and see where I'm at. And these are the benchmarks that are going to help me make that decision. So if you say, hey, I like traveling or I like cooking, maybe you give yourself like 6 months to a year, set up that deadline and say, you know what, I'm going to job shadow with somebody, or I'm going to try this out and I'm going to give myself some grace, but also I'm going to stick to it for a year, the good, the bad, the ugly, because you will have some good days at some jobs and some bad days, but give it that year and then kind of evaluate where it is that you're at. And you don't have to make decisions right away. As much as your parents, and I'm a parent of teenagers going through high school, you don't have to have the whole roadmap of your life planned out. I mean, I've changed a lot, like I said, since 16 to what it is that I'm doing now. So yeah. And I'm even back in school right now. I mean, I'm an old lady. I'm probably the age of most of you kids, like your parents. And I'm actually back in school to get my electrical like certification and degree and stuff. So school doesn't stop as soon as you get out of 12th grade. I'll just let you know that.
What a great role model you are, Amanda. Fantastic wisdom already. So you went to Europe, you were like, all the thing about blueprints and your drawings kind of comes back to you. You switched to business. You and your husband started business. Then what kind of, was it the cell phone related electronics business? And then how did that then move you into what you're doing now?
So that was the satellite dish business, right? So we were hooking up satellite dishes and TV, and we saw, as you guys probably were just starting out, like, or maybe just being born, was in about 2013, 2014 is when Netflix switched from discs to having a streaming service right around in that time. And we saw kind of the writing on the wall. Like my husband and I were like, hey, either one, we're going to have to like sell this business, right? And sell it fast because we don't know what's going to happen with it. Two, we're going to have to just run this business until it dies because there's eventually going to be a shelf life. People aren't going to be putting satellite dishes up all the time. Or three, we need to modify our business. And so we spent a year Literally, we went to every single parade home. Like, we kept our business going, but we spent a year doing research. And we went to every parade home in West Michigan, and we looked at how are the houses wired, who was doing the work. Did we think we could do it better or more efficiently? Did we think that we could add something, was there enough room in the landscape to have another company do that? And through that whole year, we said, yes, we think that there is. Yes, we think that we have a better way to go ahead and do this. So let's jump in like with 2 feet. And we got into the business of doing integration. And the thing about, most of you probably don't even know the term integrator at all. But what an integrator is I basically make smart homes. And so you all kind of know probably when Netflix, like about 2010, when things started changing in the landscape, all of a sudden you start getting like internet in your house and computers and things like that, like things that these kids think that we're super old because we lived before internet, right? But when all of that stuff started happening, previously electricians were the ones that would do it because it wasn't a big deal to just run a coax cable to a TV. You can't really mess up a coax cable. But all of a sudden, when you start having internet and you start having network and you start wanting to connect things on the internet, that's a different skill set than electrician or electrical. And how we could get into that is in the state of Michigan and in most states currently right now, there's still no like licensing requirement for low voltage. You can get the training and you can do it. Electrician, it's a very different process, right? There's an apprenticeship. You go your 4 years, you earn your journeyman's, you do another 3 years, you earn your master electrical license. There's a lot more steps involved in that. And so we could get in on what's called the low voltage side. It's the power that can't kill you, right? If you get a shock on low voltage, it's just going to sting like a bee. And so there's less rules and regulations to get involved in that. So we did that, made that transition. And we did really, really well at it. But then we started seeing some of the things that are going on now with lighting and with lighting control and with like motorized shades and things like that. And our world is starting to creep kind of back into that electrical field. And so about 2.5, 3 years ago now, we hired on a master electrician. And one of the caveats was, he said, I will come on as your master electrician, but you have to hire a journeyman and one of you guys needs to go through the program. And because you need to hold your own license eventually. And we said, absolutely. And so I got myself enrolled. And so now I'm actually going to back to school at Michigan State with their online electrical apprentice program. And literally now I'm going through, and so now I'm starting again, old lady, going through that 4-year journey to get my journeyman, and then I've got to get my master license, and things like that. But it's so fun and it's so exciting. Like, even as an old person, like, I love what I do every day, and I get to see some of the coolest stuff and work on some of the coolest projects.
I'm like so inspired right now. I absolutely am inspired. And I absolutely love that you're going through the whole apprenticeship, that you'll have those credentials for yourself. You'll be able to run the jobs. You'll be able to do all that. I love how you and your husband were so intentional with some of these decisions too. And I hope that the young people are hearing that, some of your encouragement earlier too. So you're getting this, I love that the master electrician challenged you guys to that too. Like he saw what you needed for the future. So why don't you tell us what a typical day is like then as an integrator and electrician and a business owner? What do your days look like?
Well, you wear a lot of hats. And then also like working with your family. So that can be a special, kind of thing. Sometimes I go one way, my husband goes another way. We also just recently brought our daughter into the business. So I'll talk to you more about that. But she just graduated from high school a little bit ago. Started to do the college path. It wasn't really for her. So now she's doing some other stuff in our business. So we'll talk about that. But when you get up in a normal day, it's never a normal day. And that's what I love about it, especially in residential. I would say at any given point in time, we have anywhere from about 30 to 50 projects going on at any point in time in different spaces. Some are really, really short and quick. Some, like, we're working on one house that we've been working on for about 2.5 years now. The whole life cycle will take probably about 3 years for the house to be completed. And so there's different phases of what it is that you do. And so there's lots of different career opportunities. Some days I get to work on my like drawings. So I work with the architect and I'll look at the blueprints and I design the lighting plan. So that means I'm going to place and I'm going to figure out where all the lights go in a house. If they've got artwork, do they want to have special kind of lighting for artwork? Do they have special kind of fixtures that they want to have? And now we have what's called lighting control. So that's kind of where I come in on that, where instead of seeing like the big, huge bank of like light switches, like a whole bunch of switches in a row, I can condense that all down to like one single switch that can do multiple things on it. And that's the kind of the luxury of like a smart home. I get to design how you want your house to look and feel and to respond to you from the moment you wake up. So then some days I go out and it's a pre-wire day. So I might be there as the framers have completed and we're pulling wire. So we're drilling holes, we're getting the wire, we're getting the cable to where we need. Some days it's called trim finish out, where we go to a project. That's where we're putting in the speakers, putting on the wall plates. That's after the painters come to the project. Then there's AV finish out, which AV finish out is when you're putting in all of the cool stuff, right? Like you're putting in the televisions, you're putting in the golf simulators, you're putting in the motorized shades, generally just before a homeowner moves in. So there's a lot of different things that I can do throughout a day. And the biggest thing, what I think I like most about my job is it's not cookie cutter. I meet with every client, myself or my husband, and we talk through, how do you want your house to function for you? From the moment you wake up, do you want to wake up at 6:30 in the morning? And even in Michigan winter, do you want to wake up to natural light? So I might have your lights, like in my house, my lights slowly come on for a half an hour. So I have a simulated sunrise in the morning. So even in dark Michigan, I'm not going from pitch black to like really, really bright lights. That's designed intentional. Do I want my TV to come on to a certain news channel while I'm getting ready in the morning? Do I want my lights in my kitchen to come on and my coffee maker to kind of like start for me automatically? Do I want my heated floors in my bathroom to come on so that they're already at the right temperature by the time I get up to go to the bathroom? I walk through that entire scenario with someone and I design software and programming to make all of those systems happen. Sometimes people want every little bell and whistle, and sometimes people just want a few basics. It's my job to kind of like discover that and design for that.
So obviously you're working on some pretty big houses if there's a 3-year for this house to be built.
Some, yes. I would say the vast majority usually have a life cycle of anywhere from about maybe 9 to 15 months is the average life cycle of a home.
Yeah, well, that's great. So how much of it is IT or information technology then? Are you working with some computer programmers, or how did you learn some of those skill sets?
Being the oldest lady in the class, usually the only girl in the class, and usually the oldest one in the class. It's finding the right education, companies and organizations. We're very involved with our industry association. There's actually certification. So like I said, when you graduate, a lot of the misnomer is, okay, I'm going to graduate and I'm either going to go to college, so I'm going to do 4 years of school and be done, or I don't want to go to school and therefore I'm done learning. And it's not the case. So we constantly are doing certifications. We constantly are doing, on the job training, things like that. I go to classes or webinars throughout the year and earn those certifications and earn that education.
Is there things that high school students could be doing to even get some of these insights? If this is something that sounds intriguing to them already, what would you recommend for that age group?
That's a really great question. So a lot of people that do well in our industry are people that maybe are gamers. So if gaming is like something of interest to you, if robotics or automation is something of interest to you, because we don't do just high voltage, we do low voltage. We actually can offer employment as young as 16 years of age. So we have a program. We also do a ride along. Like if a student really wants to do a ride along, they can coordinate that with our office. I'll pick them up at the school, or, we'll arrange something or whatever, and they can ride along with me or one of my guys for a day and kind of see what's going on. There are also, so like I said, my industry association is CEDIA. It stands for the Custom Electronic Design and Installation Association, CEDIA. And I sit on the board of directors for there. But we just developed our brand new certification, and it's ANSI and ISO accredited, meaning that it is recognized globally anywhere in the world. And the first level is called a cabling and infrastructure technician. It can take anywhere from probably about 90 days to a year to go through that certification. If you have someone kind of like helping you, you can take it anytime you want. You can do it while you're still in high school. Schools actually have the ability, if you want, you can get the curriculum or license the curriculum so your students can come out and do that. And I would say that's a really good basic one that you're going to know pretty quickly if you want to go into anything that has to do anything at all with wires. And so it's a really short kind of turnaround to make a determination, because what you're going to learn in there would help you become an integrator. It could help you become an electrical lineman. It would help you become an electrician. It would help you to go into like the satellite or the cable companies. And there's a lot of new things. Like, it's super exciting landscape for like you kids coming up. What's happening with like Wi-Fi 6 and the new internet, and like, we're not going to be dependent on the same types of cables and things like that underground that like what we used to. And so this industry is leading the way with all of that. So that is like a great precursor to be able to go ahead and say, hey, is this something I'm interested in? You spend a little bit of time, take that precursor, you'll learn some of the basic tools, some of the basic understanding, and then you can say, yep, now that is something I want to go into, or nope, that I don't want to do that at all, before you get into the journeyman program or before you get into the master electrician program, because that's a little bit longer commitment and a little bit more cost.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, if it's a formal apprenticeship, then once they did some of this kind of exploration, would they get into an apprenticeship to be able to get that journeyman's license?
Correct. Yeah. So generally, like GRCC has an amazing program. They actually have, I want to say it's like an 8 to 12 week class that you can take like right out of high school. That's kind of like their pre-electrical program. But you have to be graduated from high school or out of school to be able to go ahead and do that. The one that I do, you could actually use as a precursor even prior to. So I actually have encouraged, and I have some homeschool kids, for example, that have like said, hey, you know what, I'm looking for like some extra credits and some certification programs that I can do. Do you have anything? So you can actually, like I said, you can start that as young as 16. Your schools can offer it. It's something that you could go to. My industry association, the headquarters is in Indiana. You can go down and you can take it. You can do it through self-taught and through online learning modules. So there's a lot of different opportunities to be able to do that.
And I think the other thing that stood out to me, Amanda, is there are young people who love the idea of being at the cutting edge of innovation. And I think that's what sounds, just me listening, I'm not even mechanically inclined, but that's a value for some young people, right? And so there's being an electrician, but to be on that integrator, hopefully some of even our school counselors are learning something new. I know I am, and it's just fantastic. We only have about 3 minutes left. So I want to just have you give a final word of wisdom. You've given so much great insights already, but let's say you have a 16-year-old boy or girl in front of you. You know, what do you want them to know as they're exploring their options, and they maybe like to do blueprints and get their hands on things?
Yeah. I would say, number one, don't be scared. Number two is find a mentor or find, an ally, someone who can support you. To the counselors out there, I literally just got involved in this conversation with someone on TikTok, of all places. So my company, you can find us on all the social medias, see all of the stuff that we do, all the projects we do. But I think that for a long time, there was a misnomer that like trades jobs were for the people that couldn't hack it in college. Maybe they weren't as smart. And I will tell you, I work with some of the most brilliant people in the world. There is math involved. When you sit in a really, really well done home theater cinema room, like I just was in one at our recent show, they did a pop-up one. It was a $2 million home theater. $2 million. And there's so much math and there's so much calibration. And it was just, when you walked in there, it was just an amazing experience. And that's what I get to do. I get to help create experiences. And there's so many different ways that you can do it, whether it's for just an average homeowner, or maybe I have a passion for working with people with special needs. If I can use technology to make their life in their home easier and more functional, or maybe I can keep an older person where they can stay in their home longer and their family can check in with them. There's so many possibilities. So don't limit yourself. Find a mentor and try lots of things. This is your time in life where, as much as everyone is going to push you to try to have it all figured out and have exactly the game plan of what you're going to do with your life, now's the time to explore. It's the time to try different things. It's the time to be excited about it, and don't feel like a failure if it's not your cup of tea. It's okay. You will find something you like, even if you're older like me and now I'm in a career I absolutely love.
Gold, absolute gold.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Yes, absolutely. And if anyone ever has any questions, or if they have a student that wants to check it out, I don't know if I'm allowed to tell. Am I allowed
Yes,
to tell you
please.
my social
Yes,
media?
I was going to say yes, and please give a plug to your company because we did not mention it. We focused
It's
on
all
your
right.
job title.
It's okay. True Media is my company, and I'm on all the social media channels. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and it's called True Media Home. And that's our website. So TRU, no E in it, Media Home. And you'll see everything on there is 100% our projects. So if a kid, that's a really great way. I should have mentioned that as a tip too. If there's a business that you think might be cool, try to find their social channels, see what it is that they're doing every single day, and kind of go through and say, yeah, that looks neat. That looks interesting. I'd like to learn more about that. That's a really, really great way to learn a little bit about a company and maybe what you'd be doing. I think that's the whole point of view or whatever, POV, a day in the life, everybody's kind of like doing on social medias.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you guys so very much for having me. And if you ever have any questions or any students that want to come visit, feel free, give me a holler.